Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, FPL Consult here, and today we're going to take a look at AI's best Game Week 13 wildcard draft that's on the screen right now. I don't agree with it. There's so many things in this draft that I think needs addressing, so in this video we are going to address all of them. I'm going to rate this draft and we're going to make improvements to it as we go along. So if you guys do enjoy this video, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. Just before we jump into the video, once again I'm shouting out the charity donation drive that we are doing until Christmas, which is that I will be donating 20 pence per new subscriber from now till Christmas. So basically all you have to do if you aren't subscribed already is to subscribe, and I will be donating more money to charity. A massive thank you to everyone who has supported the cause so far. We have almost reached £50 in donations already for UNICEF. So if you want more information on why I've chosen them to be the charity of choice, you can check out more information in the description. I've put it down below. Right, so let's get on with the video and let's talk about this AI draft in totality before I go into the different segments, goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and forwards. So there's a couple of issues with this draft. The first thing is that the keeper pairing is not good enough for Game Week 18 because Game Week 18 will be a blank. Strakosha and Flecken are both from Brentford, and basically they will blank in Game Week 18. So a keeper pairing that would be better is one that plays in Game Week 18 despite the fact that Flecken will have a blank. You will have that spare keeper if, for example, you go for Areola, which is a bit of a spoiler, but I will be going for Areola as the other keeper. And then in defense, I think it is definitely too Newcastle heavy, right? Trippier and Lascelles. Already Lascelles is a little bit of an issue because maybe Botman will be coming back soon. Trippier, once again, the clean sheets could be drying up for Newcastle if we continue to see the injuries pile up for them. So Trippier at 7 million, will he continue to justify that price tag? It remains to be seen. I don't think I would want to have him in my draft. And then for the other players, it's pretty alright, right? Gabriel is okay. Taylor is fine. I think Branthwaite as the other, as the fifth defender, I think is just too cheap, right? I don't think he's an option that you want to play week in, week out. And having Branthwaite and Taylor both in the team just basically means you're relying pretty much on the three defenders, Trippier, Lascelles, and Gabriel. Right, so I don't really like that at all. So we will address that in this draft. In the midfield, I think it's pretty alright. Saka, Son, Salah, and Bremo seem to be fine. For Gordon, I think you could argue that maybe he can be included, but I would rather have someone like a Cole Palmer there. We'll talk about it later. And it remains to be seen how Newcastle will adapt to this new injury situation that is hitting them right now. There will be players coming back. As of recording, Isak seems to be fine. Almiron seems to be fine as well. Maybe Gordon will start to pick up some returns because in the game against Bournemouth, it was pretty much quite dry in the attack as we saw. Right, so that's pretty much it. And the forwards, Darwin, Haaland, and Archer, I think this is where I think I'm pretty alright with the draft. You could go elsewhere, you could go Solanke, etc. But I don't understand if the AI kind of favors Darwin, Haaland, and Archer. Right, so there we go with an overall assessment of AI's Game Week 13 wildcard. Let's go into detail, starting with the goalkeepers, and look at some changes that I want to make to this draft. So we're going to call this draft the AI improved draft, where basically we use the AI draft as a reference and I'm going to make changes to them. So as we saw in the previous draft by AI, Strakosha and Flecken were the chosen keepers. As I've mentioned, both of them will blank in Game Week 18, so you won't have goalkeeper coverage if you do go for this keeper pairing. So even though it's really cheap, Strakosha is at 3.9 and Flecken is at 4.5, I think definitely you have to upgrade Strakosha to a playing keeper. So a little bit of a spoiler that I gave just now is that I will be going for Areola. So going for Areola here basically just enables you to have a keeper that will be playing in Game Week 18, and on top of that, he actually rotates pretty well with Flecken. Now in Game Week 13 now, Areola has Burnley, Flecken has Arsenal. You could start Areola. Moving forward as well, they rotate quite well. Come Game Week 18, of course, Flecken blanks as I mentioned, and then you can go for Areola. So I think this is definitely an upgrade that I will be making to the AI draft in terms of keeper pairing. So next up in defense, AI went for Trippier, Lascelles, Gabriel, Branthwaite, and Taylor. I already mentioned that I think this is too heavy in the Newcastle defense. They are a little bit shaky at the moment. I don't think I want to double up on them. And Trippier at 7 million doesn't feel like he will be justifying his price tag. To me, the fixtures are quite tough for him. So I think I won't be going for these two Newcastle defenders. Gabriel, I think, is fine. Arsenal's defensive fixtures moving forward are one of the best. They do have Brentford now in game week 13, but moving forward, the fixtures are pretty good, and there's every chance they could just, come off with a clean sheet. In terms of expected goals conceded numbers, they are actually top of the Premier League this season. So you could say they are actually the top defense in the league, even though maybe clean sheets haven't been showing that because they haven't been keeping that many clean sheets this season as compared to last season. But they're still a very, very solid defense. So Gabriel is one of them that I think is fine for this team. For Branthwaite and Taylor, going for 4 million defenders is just too thin. Your defense would just be relying on the on Trippier, Lascelles, and Gabriel, as I mentioned just now. So Taylor is fine. Going for 4 million defender is fine. Branthwaite, I would probably upgrade. So now that we've kind of listed all the problems with this midfield, with this defense, I'm going to make these changes to this team. So what I've done is I've basically taken out the two Newcastle defenders. I've taken out Lascelles and Trippier. I've replaced them with Caldwell and Gahey. And for Branthwaite, I've upgraded him to Saliba. So basically, it's a triple change here in defense. Trippier, Lascelles, and Branthwaite out for Caldwell, Gahey, and Saliba. So covering them one by one. Let's start with Saliba first because it's the easiest. Him and Gabriel together will just act as great coverage for the Arsenal defense. And on top of that, as I mentioned, they are one of the better defenses in the league. So I have no qualms doubling up on Arsenal. The only downside, I guess, is that you would be kind of blocking yourself because in midfield, I will be going for Bukayo Saka. And in that sense, you're already tripled up on Arsenal. So you are blocking yourself a little bit, but I think there shouldn't be a time where I think we want to have an extra Arsenal attacker anytime soon, right? So I think I'm alright just to go with a double Arsenal defense for now. Caldwell and Gahey, this one is a little bit more of a rotation pairing here because Gahey has great fixtures from now in game week 13 until 15. From 16 onwards, it gets really bad. But that's where Caldwell comes in. So he does have a little bit of a shoulder injury at the moment. It does not seem like it's going to rule him out for super long. So even if he misses out in game week 13, I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. So Caldwell will come in really nicely once Chelsea's fixtures turn. He is still the first choice left back. Cucurella played in game week 12 because Caldwell had that injury. So once he's back, you can expect Caldwell to start week in, week out. And at 4.6, covering the Chelsea defense, which is actually one of the better defenses in the league, surprisingly this season, I think he could be a really good addition, right? So Gahey could be benched the moment Caldwell's fixtures turn. And then in game week 22, I've gone so far as to look at game week 22. Caldwell will have a tough fixture. Gahey has Sheffield United. So basically, I think this rotation pairing works really well. And then you have your double Arsenal and your Taylor as your budget enabler. So I do like this kind of re-energized defense. Let me know what you guys think of the defense after I've made these changes. And now let's take a look at the midfield. So in midfield, it's Saka, Son, Salah, Gordon, and Mbeumo. I don't really have too much issues with this midfield. Let's talk about Saka first. I think in terms of an Arsenal attacker, he's just a default pick to go for. He's the safest, he's first choice penalty taker, plays 90 minutes every single game. Even if there's a slight knock that he has, if he's, even a slight chance that he can play, Arsenal will still play him and maybe take him off at the 85th minute or something. So Saka is just a very, very safe pick to go for, and you do want an Arsenal attacker with their fixtures coming up. So I agree with this pick. For Son, 9.7 million, I think this is where opinions will kind of diverge a little bit. There's definitely a camp that's saying that Son's output will start to drop off because Maddison is out now. Their ball playing centre backs are also out. Romero and Van de Ven is also out. So there's basically a little bit of a reshuffling going on in the Tottenham team, and people expect Son's output to drop. So I do understand all that. I actually agree with them. But another side of me also understands that Son is playing in the number 9 spot. Spurs attackingly, they still look alright. Their output still looks fine. They have Brennan Johnson on the left, Kulusevski on the right. So definitely missing Maddison is an important piece. But I could see Son just going off in certain games and getting 2 goals or even getting a goal and an assist. I just completely see it as a possibility happening. I'm not saying it definitely will, but he's just that kind of player that could go nuclear in some games, right? And he's playing number 9, listed as a midfielder, so already, a kind of a gem of a pick there in terms of an NFPL pick where you just want a midfielder that's playing a forward position. That's kind of the dream. And then he's also first choice penalty taker, because you would assume that with Maddison out, I don't think there are any other penalty takers for Tottenham that would go before Son. Right? All this is definitely speculation, but I think it's educated guesses that people say Son would be the first choice penalty taker. So you add all of this together, suddenly Son does not seem such a bad pick, right? Even though Maddison is out. So I'm okay with the Son pick. I understand that looking at this team, some people would say that it's lacking Bowen, is lacking a West Ham midfielder. I do agree with that. But given the latest news, it seems like Bowen, I do think Bowen will be fine, but he is a little bit of a doubt. And if you're wildcarding now in game week 13, maybe you don't take the risk, right? We wait and see what David Moyes says. But for now, I kind of do agree that we go safe a little bit and we go with Son here instead of Bowen. Now, Salah at 13 million, I think this one there's nothing much to talk about. We can all agree Salah is a nailed must-have in the draft. For Gordon and Mbeumo, let's talk about Mbeumo first. At 6.8 million, even though he plays Arsenal in game week 13, he's definitely a long-term pick that would work really, really well. He blanks in game week 18, as we mentioned for Flecken just now. But even so, I think the fixtures leading up to game week 18 and after game week 18 are just so good. And Mbeumo's output has been super good recently. So I definitely think that he's a pick that we will want to have in our game week 13 wildcard. So for Gordon, I'm just not so convinced of Newcastle's output for the next few games. It's quite tough for them. It's Chelsea and then Manchester United, and the fixtures are quite tough. So I would say that with their injury situation, yes, Almiron is coming back from injury, Isak should be fit as well. Maybe we start to see them pick up in terms of attacking output. But I would think that in terms of going for a budget enabler, I actually prefer going for Cole Palmer. So let's go ahead and slot Cole Palmer in here. I think at 5.1 million, he's just a kind of an enabler that I cannot ignore, right? Because he plays for Chelsea. From game week 16 onwards, the fixtures are just a sea of green. It seems as if he's the first choice penalty taker as well. He's taken 4 on the spin now. So I think at that price point, I mean, if you said that Palmer was going to be getting a couple of attacking returns for 5 million every other game week, I think we would say that that's a bargain. I definitely don't expect him to score penalties every other game week, but his attacking output aside from penalties has been pretty decent. The numbers he's been putting up, and he's been getting a couple of assists as well on the side. So I think Cole Palmer at 5.1 million is just so much value that I can't ignore, and I think he will do better than Gordon over the long term as well. So that's why I've made this change to this AI team. Let me know what you think about it. Would you do this change as well, or what other changes would you do in this midfield? And let's now take a look at the forwards. So up front is Darwin Núñez, Erling Haaland, and Cameron Archer. So I'm fine with this game week 13 wildcard forward pairing of Darwin and Haaland and having Archer on the bench. Now Archer, I think it's important to have him, right? Instead of maybe just downgrading all the way down to Mubama at 4.3, you need this player to play in your starting 11 come game week 18. So with that in mind, Archer will be playing in game week 18, and that's where he can come in handy. Now, in terms of Darwin and Haaland, I do understand that Haaland is now flagged, but I think he should be fine. As for Darwin, he's coming back from the international break. Whether he starts or not is a little bit of a doubt. And that could cause some people on a Game Week 13 wildcard to go away from Darwin Núñez. But I will say that Liverpool and Man City are the early kickoff on Saturday. So that basically means that I think there's a good chance we will get news on whether Darwin or Haaland are starting. If we do get the confirmation, I think I'll definitely start with Darwin Núñez, because from game week 14 onwards, the fixtures for Liverpool are just so good that I can see Darwin Núñez getting a couple of hauls there. So I think Darwin Núñez is a pick that I would go for despite the risk, but we should get information. And I think in terms of this forward line, there are a couple of other options you could go for. I think Solanke is one of them that stands out, but he doesn't fit into this team at the time being because he'll probably be on the bench if anything. But I think if there are some people out there who are tempted by Solanke, I think he's a decent pick. Bournemouth's fixtures are pretty good as well, and they have Sheffield now in game week 13. So I do like Solanke. Ollie Watkins is also a decent player to keep if you do have some confidence in the Aston Villa attack, that you want to keep them all the way until game week 18, because game week 18 Aston Villa plays Sheffield, so having Ollie Watkins up till then could be quite a good differential. So I think Ollie Watkins is also a decent pick to have. And I guess in terms of the second Man City attacker in Alvarez, you could hop on him come game week 16. Right? I wouldn't go for him right from the get-go now in game week 13. I would wait until game week 16 to get Alvarez. So there we go with this forward line. I'll stick with AI's one. I think Darwin Núñez, Haaland, and Archer are fine. And I think looking at this draft overall, now that we've used AI's draft as a reference and made some changes to it, I actually think this is the Game Week 13 wildcard draft that I would go into Game Week 13 with if I was on a wildcard, right? I've made some changes to kind of tweak and cover other bases in this team. So I do like this team. Let me know what you guys think of this draft in the comments down below. If you're wildcarding, let me know your teams and what players that you have in your draft that I don't have at the time being that I'm missing out. But if not, thank you guys for watching to this point. I hope you guys found this video useful and enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. Once again, shouting out the Christmas charity drive that we're doing. As above me here, I will be donating 20 pence per new subscriber from now to Christmas. We've raised close to £50 already, so I really appreciate all the support. All you have to do is click that subscribe button and you will be contributing more to charity. So all for a good cause. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the team selection video tomorrow.